Over here. All right, welcome to today's webinar. Today we have Cecil County Public Schools presenting Building Hybrid 6 through 12 English Content. Thank you for joining us. My name is Katie Gallagher, and I'm the Director of Product Marketing focused on teaching and learning for Blackboard K through 12. Thank you to Jenny Breister and Ryan McLaughlin from the K-12 Field Marketing team, who also help support this series. We're always open to new ideas for topics for the series, so please let us know if you have an interest in a particular topic or would like to present in the future. Just send us an email or a tweet. Every session, including today, is recorded in the series, and you can access those recordings on our YouTube channel. We invite you to register. Registration is open for BB World 2016. We are working on building out the most robust K-12 track ever for BB World, and we invite you to join us for a great week in Vegas. As you can see, and as you probably already saw when I wasn't speaking, we have many great sessions coming up for the remainder of the spring. We're going to take a week or two off here as many districts are already in their spring breaks. And we'll resume again on Monday, April 11th with the Episcopal School of Baton Rouge. So please sign up for any of these sessions or remaining sessions for the series. We're really excited to have Cecil County Public Schools presenting today and a wide variety of talent from that team with Kyle Rickensrod, Mike Pajnicki, Terry Politi, and Melissa Fazzino. Kyle has been in education for 24 years at Cecil County Public Schools. He is a middle school math and computer teacher as well as an assistant principal before his current role of coordinator for instructional technology and media services for the district. He's responsible for technology and media integration through all instructional areas, and more recently, the implementation of Google Apps for Education throughout the district. Cecil County has been a Blackboard customer for over 4 years and has established Blackboard Learn as a fundamental piece for course delivery and curriculum distribution. Terry has been with Cecil County for 28 years, 17 as a high school math teacher, 1 as a middle school math teacher, 2 years as a research teacher in the math office, and 8 years in the instructional technology office. She's responsible for K-12 technology integration, including Blackboard, Google Apps for Education, smart technologies, and laptop use. Her primary role is to help teachers see options for infusing technology into instruction to help all students learn. Melissa has been working for Cecil County for 8 years. Prior to working with CCPS, she taught in Shahola, Pennsylvania for 5 years. Throughout those 13 years, she's taught 4th, 5th, 6th, and 8th grade and worked as a gifted and talented instructional coach and K-12 instructional coach. She's certified through the University of Kansas in content enhancement routines and writing strategies and has worked as a master teacher for MSDE and teaches online and hybrid courses for MSDE and CCPS. Her current responsibilities include supporting teachers to purposefully design English language arts lessons that meet the needs of all students. Lastly, Mike has been with Cecil County Public Schools for 5 years. Prior to CCPS, he has worked as a literacy and school improvement consultant for the Southern Regional Education Board, or SREB, in Atlanta, Georgia, and as a teacher and building district administrator for Trenton Public Schools in New Jersey. Although Mike is responsible for curriculum development and professional learning in the area of language arts, he's committed to integrating literacy through design for learning and differentiated instruction. And he and his team of certified writing coaches utilize the learning strategies from the University of Kansas Center for Research and Learning for vertically articulated writing instruction. Currently, he's a member of the Touchstones Discussion Project Advisory Council, the National Council of Teachers of English, the National and Philadelphia Writing Projects, and a certified trainer for the National Seeking Educational Equity and Diversity Project. So we're thrilled to have these 4 educators with us today. With that, I'm going to hand it over to you and your team, Kyle, and we're very excited for your presentation.
Good afternoon. That was a mouthful, I'll tell you. Well, welcome everybody. We're going to kind of review some of the things that we have done over the past 4 years that really, I think, exemplifies where you want to go with hybrid instruction, and we're going to really focus in on the English content more specifically. And so basically where we're at, if you we're right in this little circle here that, let me get my little finger pointer. We are sitting right in this area. So we're smack dab in the middle, actually right on the corner of 3 states in Cecil County, Maryland. And a little bit more about us, it's that we have 17 elementary schools, 6 middle, 5 high, and we do have a school of technology with an enrollment of about 15,800 students, obviously ranging from pre-K to 12, and we're about 18th in size in Maryland with about 1,400 staff. And the part that that becomes very difficult to roll out any kind of systemic technology is there's just 2 staff members in instructional technology, and that is Terry and myself. And so for any good leader, what you need to know is that obviously if you find really strong people, and I'll tell you, Terry and Melissa have been phenomenal in this implementation, is that you put the tools in place and then really get out of their way. So I'm going to talk to you about our process and how we rolled it out, how we developed our plan, but really want to give that part just a really short piece because it's really about getting to the end result and what does that look like. Because I know that we do have some we're all educators, but you really want to see what the bottom line looks like so you can start getting ideas and start rolling out some of these things for your districts. And so in this next slide pretty much maps out real quickly those basically our 4 years of rollout, if you will. So we first started with Moodle rooms, and we really kind of were teasing with it, but really kind of got our feet wet with this hybrid / online instruction kind of piece. And so before we moved over, what we really thought is we considered Blackboard as a critical part of our infrastructure. And so meaning it was just about a non-negotiable to have in place in order for any device implementation. So we knew we wanted to get to devices in the classroom, increase access, all that device equipment component. But before we did that, we really looked at Blackboard and curriculum as the primary, or as one of the main infrastructure components that we had to have in place before we parked it in there. So, and so knowing that we wanted this learning management system, we wanted Blackboard, we also know that Blackboard is only as good as its content. And so in that targeted use area, we really focused on building the capacity of our curriculum leadership because what I've always said over time is that Blackboard, we're Google Apps for Education, we're Chromebooks, all that stuff. This to work well cannot be just a technology initiative. So we really pulled in a lot of our curriculum leadership right from the beginning, and that's really where Mike and Melissa have been absolutely critical into our implementation, and you'll hear from them later. So, and during our targeting expansion phases of our rollout, we invested in additional contracted services to integrate our courses and enrollments with our student information system. And it sounds kind of technical, but what we really knew for adoption was that automaticity had to happen. And so if we didn't have that automatic work, or if the enrollments didn't move over, if courses weren't created, teachers would balk at it. If they had to do more manual work, we had to, then our implementation would be a lot slower. So we invested in a lot of those contracted services in addition to our licensing to really make this rollout as simple as possible. In conjunction, we've created some master courses, and this is what you're going to see today, that again, through that import process, through that same contracted services, we duplicate this primary course shell to all teachers with enrollments and by section and by class automatically at the beginning of the year, the semester, and all the enrollments all fluctuate. I don't want to spend a lot of time with that, but we did that as part of our rollout and our non-negotiable right from the beginning because we knew it would simplify the process for teachers down the line. So where we are at now, we have 140 course templates, which roughly equates to 1,200 classes. Classes means like one period of time that a teacher sees it. So a teacher may have 5 classes, 6 classes, 7 classes a day. So we have about 1,200 classes with an enrollment of about 9,000 students. So all of our secondary students have some experience in Blackboard. We haven't dipped down to elementary yet, but we have some time there. We have developed a whole lot of professional development courses in conjunction, which equates to about 35 courses, ranging from supporting through the instructional strategies that we offer in classes, to our county plan professional days, to a toolkit. So a whole variety of courses that we have developed over the 4 years. And so, and our look ahead, are a big piece beyond our, expansion piece in our district imperative, is that we're very excited about the SIS Central, the Student Information Central, whereas we use PowerSchool, and there's a lot of conversation that can happen between Blackboard and PowerSchool. So we're very much looking forward to that as moving forward, because again, anything that we can do to eliminate some of those extra effort that the teacher needs to do will, again, continually increase in that buy-in from our teachers in the classroom. So, and I think the most important of all those 4 years is that we've been very strategic in what we're going to do and what we're not going to do right from the onset. So we have said no to quite a few things from the get-go, because we knew that if we tried to bite too much off, we bit off a lot. But if we expanded ourselves beyond what we can do, then the implementation is going to stumble. So that pretty much is our target that we have set in that short 4 years. And we're very excited about our progress to date. And we certainly look forward to the future of what we can do with Blackboard. But at this time, I do want to talk or pass it over to Mike, so that he can have a dialogue about where he sits as far as the English piece goes. So Mike?
So I just want to very quickly run through what compelled English Language Arts to collaborate with instructional technology and using Blackboard. And it really stems to creating access points for all learners as well as all teachers. So first, we were looking to provide students with multiple means for engaging with content, and then demonstrating what they've learned from that engagement. Second was to move from a traditional method of how curriculum is stored, accessed, and experienced, to a structure that is personalized for the teacher as well as their students, and that becomes dynamic. And finally, this is the last point I have to make, is to facilitate opportunities for students to collaborate around text in ways that mirror how they collaborate around text in their actual classrooms.
So we're going to take you on a live tour of our site now to give you some ideas of what we've been working on. So let me share the screen with you. Okay, good now. All right, so this is Unit 1. This is what our typical 8th grade class would look like, along with any other course we would have. So this would be what our master course would look like. And we decided as a county we would set them up to be all the same. So all master courses have the same top 3 things: a home page, which is announcements, and we purposely set them up that way so that when a teacher teaches their class today, they can put in an announcement that this is what I taught today. If you're absent, here's what you missed. And if you're at the high school level, you can easily just shoot out an email of what it is. Then we set up the course information page, which would have all the information for all of our courses. So in all the course information page, you'll find a course launch. You'll also find the course organizer, which is really the roadmap for the course. Now these all come from the University of Kansas if you're not familiar with them, but it really is the overriding features of the course. But you'll find those in all of our courses. You'll also find anything else that would be pertinent to the whole course. For instance, any grading rubrics. So all of our discussions, if you're in 8th grade, they're all graded the exact same way on the same rubric so the kids know what to expect. If there's an online textbook, there'll be a link to the online textbook and anything else that you may use through the whole course. The other thing you'll find is the Tech Hub, which we would also use as the Tech Help. We added this to all of our courses so that we would have that the kids could reach out to, whether they were at home or at school, depending on where they needed the help, to find specific help. Now, there is Blackboard help available to them, but we also wanted to put in some of our own help for some things that we customized, so you would find that there in the help section. Plus, we also wanted to add things that were purely Cecil County Public Schools, so for instance, our digital databases, all the at-home passwords, because it's behind a password-protected site, so they could put them all there. Google, we are Google Apps for Education, so anything that they would needed to know about Google can be found there. Our etiquette policies, anything about the integrated apps that we would purchase. Now what we found is I built this first, we put it in all of our masters, so when we pushed it, then it became more of a stagnant site once we pushed it. So one of the things that we've learned is that next year as we build this, we're going to build it more in the content collection in HTML pages, so that we can leverage that content collection so that I can change it on the fly. So for instance, part of our Google Apps, we use read write for Google. And one of the things that they've done is they've changed things as we've gone along this year. So if I make it in an HTML page, I can change it at the content collection and it'll automatically change in everyone's class, or it'll redirect in everyone's class. So we want to leverage the content collection more for items like this so that it will constantly change. We also found ourselves buying more things like Storyboard That, and as we integrate more items, we want to be able to add things. So I think this next year, instead of a specific item, will be more of a integrated apps and be able to add integrated apps as we go along. So the Tech Hub is one of those things that we want to be able to always change, but yet I want it in everyone's course because they said, especially some of the younger kids, it makes it easier if it's contained within their classroom. So that homepage, course information, and Tech Hub you'll find are in all the masters. The next piece that's in all the masters are the unit 1s through 4. The macros contributions, these items here, the words change depending on what grade level you're in, but they're the same type of concept. If you'll notice, we have hidden units 2, 3, and 4. One of the things the teacher said is it makes it a lot easier if they're ready to go for day 1. So we've started talking at the master level of hiding the things that they don't need from the get-go so that they're ready for day 1. So those are things that we're working on in the master level as we move forward with this. And then I'm going to let Melissa talk about the writing strategies.
The next piece on the left navigation bar is applicable to all classrooms 6 through 12 in the English Language Arts realm, and that's the writing strategy piece. We have trained all of our 6th through 12th grade teachers in these 4 writing strategies from the University of Kansas. Those strategies are named by the folders that you see on the screen. Terry clicked inside one of those folders, and those are the topics covered in that particular strategy. If we drill down a little further, we'll see all of the electronic resources available to students to help them make sense and master the content of these strategies. And the layout is the same for all 4 of those strategies. So in terms of providing access for students, we still do have some teachers that provide, a more traditional paper pencil opportunity for students, but this does open a window of access for those students who learn better in a more hybrid format. The next piece we have that we're sharing with you now is a teacher resource section. When we created the masters to send to teachers last summer, we put all of the teacher resources in one section. As we've gone throughout the school year and teachers have become more comfortable with Blackboard as a platform to deliver instruction, we've decided to move these pieces where they individually fit within the rest of the structure of the course, and we'll show you an example of that in a few minutes. We were very conscious to not overload teachers as they were starting to learn where to put things and how to hide things and how to formats for best access for students right off the bat. So as we've reflected and learned from their successes throughout the year, we tend to think that we're going to move those pieces individually into the units where they are most applicable.
One of the other things we did was we wanted to limit the number of items on the left navigation bar. We are using Chromebooks and we didn't want the kids to have to scroll a ton. So one of the things we were doing was limiting things. One of the things we did this year as a group was we discussed which tools we wanted to roll out as a group. We decided to focus on 3. Discussion boards, journals, and assignments were the 3. We didn't limit everybody else to the others, but those were the 3 we were going to focus on as a whole. So I'm going to take you back through professional development first and then bring you forward to show you where we are. So we started with professional development at the middle school last June with every single middle school teacher, not just ELA, all of them. First, they got a rubric that they had to fill out. And this is not just Blackboard rubric, but it was also Google Apps for Education rubric. And this is a quick slide, I realize that. But they filled out whether they were fitting into a novice, apprentice, practitioner, or expert. And once they did that, they pre-selected which sessions they were going to sit in. And from there, then they began to learn the components and how these fit into each other. Once they learned that, one of the things they did during that session was they learned how to use the Toolkit, and this is our toolkit. We made one course called the Cecil County Public Schools Toolkit, and that is where all teachers are enrolled as a student, where they can come and find information on just about anything. You'll notice it's quite hefty, and there's a lot of things that just keep getting added to it because everybody wants to keep putting stuff in the toolkit. So it's hard to keep figuring out what goes on the left side and what does not. But we took them through the toolkit so they had more of a scavenger hunt to try to find all the items that they would need. One of the things was blended learning. How does this hybrid work in my classroom? Then some of the stuff was on Blackboard. How do I do things as a teacher? How do I do things as a student? How do I present my content? We still get questions all the time about what's the difference between an item, a learning module, those types of things. As we added the Blackboard Collaborate, we needed to add all sessions on those types of things. So we tried to group these together as they came together. So that was one of the things that we did in June. Then in August, we did the same thing with high school teachers, so they could go through the same types of strategies and learn those components of it. So from there, then, we moved on into our next session in October, and we really focused in on the 3 tools we wanted to focus in on. So then it was more about a focus on the secondary content. And Melissa and I roles are very unique in the fact that Melissa and I are coaches and that we travel to the schools, and literally our schedule is to park ourselves at the schools and be available to teachers when they need help. So in the beginning of the year, when we would arrive, some teachers would use us, some would not. So we took a survey. Some of them said they didn't hear when we were coming because we, of course, went through principals. So then we started posting our schedule, and you'll see our schedule here listed on the board. So they knew when they were coming. Some of them said they needed to know what topics were available. So we started adding topics. And as I scroll down, you'll see some topics that are coming up here. So I'm adding topics. So we added specific topics, but yet we would add, Melissa and I traveled together usually as a team so that one of us could cover the topic during their planning periods, or one of us could also backtrack or forward track depending on what they had. But during that time, we also built these modules for these teachers, and they're the technology resources for them to be able to come in and out of and use as they need to. So during our October training with them, during our PD, our face-to-face PD with every single teacher, we focused on these 3. And I'm going to go into a discussion so they get the idea of what these PD sessions were set up to be. We cut the day into 4 pieces, and so imagine this is 1/4 of your day. We're focused on discussions. First, we looked at the rubric so that everybody understood the rubric because we wanted everybody grading fairly. Now, we did this in not just in ELA, but in social studies and in computer lit also, so that everybody's grading the same. Then we talked about creating a question. What's a weak question? Because if I'm asking for 150 words, what do you think of the recent events in Baltimore? That's tough to get 150 words. So you need to be able to really pull stuff out of them and look for some stronger questions. So then we really went into some of those effective questioning kind of techniques and talked about Bloom's, those kind of ideas with them. And this was some of the ideas that we'd already gotten out of the Blackboard courses that talked about that we pre-bought. Then we had them run a discussion so that they actually took a discussion. Then we took them back through the setup of what are all the things the checkboxes mean for a discussion. And then we showed them how to grade. Now, all live. So then we left for them how to grade so that when they came back later on another day and needed to know how to do this, there were all items there for them to go back and revisit. So we're trying to leave them not only face-to-face things, but then things that they can go back and revisit once we're gone. And then as we travel from school to school, we're also there to answer questions. So we're trying to get them their PD when they need it, how they need it, any which way they can, the best way. So these were all ways that we handled the discussions, the journals, and the assignments. Now, the discussion boards were mandatory. They had to do a marking period. And I'm going to show you the discussion boards back in the 8th grade course and let Melissa talk about those for a minute.
So within each unit, we put a focus on an extended text. And for this first unit, the extended text is Flowers for Algernon. We're going to look at the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th discussion boards that are on the screen in front of you. The first one, What is Intelligence, is we designed as a discussion board for students prior to reading and interacting with the text. So it was focused on a micro concept that the text covers, in this case, intelligence. And so the idea is to get students familiar with the discussion board process, and to provide them with an opportunity to comment and have something to talk about. If you look at the 3rd and 4th discussion board questions on your screen, you'll notice that the complexity of those questions ramps up. These 2 questions are intended to be shown and offered to students near the end of the study of the text or near the end of the marking period. They not only focus on the text as a whole, but also force students into a connection to other content areas. In these 2 cases, science and social studies. And the science and social studies content is related to what they're actually studying in science and social studies at the same time. That's one of the powers of the macro concepts that are on the left-hand side, that Unit 1 contributions, that social studies is looking at contributions at the same time, and science is looking at contributions at the same time that ELA is. So it makes some cross-curricular connections really very powerful for students.
And then we're going to take a little bit about journals. So journals were our other tool. Journals were not mandatory. However, we found some of them were using them for interesting ways, such as warm-ups or book thoughts and some free write areas. So it's been very interesting to see how they've been using them. It's been a tool that I think is well worth delving into, especially for the ELA area. Now we're going to really delve into the content area of what a unit will look like. And this is a model unit, and Melissa's going to go into it with us.
So as Terry clicks on the Unit 1 link on the left-hand side, you'll see the 2nd folder down says a study of contributions. And this folder houses all the content related to, in this case, the Flowers for Algernon text that I alluded to earlier. This landing page, we've tried to standardize across all of our grade levels and contains the same information. So the essential questions of this particular study, the things students need to know and do, generally what activities they're going to participate in, any assessments, of course the standards that are relevant to the study. And we decided to put our time frame in hours, being that all of our classes are slightly of different length, both at the middle and high school. So in order to try and show teachers an example or a model that they could use, it needed to contain those elements. Inside the folder, you'll see the opening discussion that we looked at just a moment ago. And then the second item down contains the actual core study for that particular text. Inside of that learning module we really were very purposeful in trying to plan and put into this structure a hybrid learning opportunity. So you'll notice that, for example, the first item there says read Flowers for Algernon, and it gives students an opportunity to either read the version in the textbook that happens to be in their classroom, or the item right below it provides them with access to an online version of that same text. The third item down asks students to kind of step away from the digital environment for a moment to think and share with one another and process away from the computer. As Terry scrolls down, you'll see that there are journal entries, again, another cooperative learning structure, and we try to follow that same kind of pace. So a little bit of it is on the platform of Blackboard, a little bit face-to-face, and then that item 6 there, we also tried to integrate, since this is Unit 1, some of our other initiatives. So that particular link is from a Google document. So we're trying to have teachers use Blackboard as their home base. So students can go to Blackboard for everything, for a Google Doc link, for any kind of other video link or anything like that, we send students there first. We then kind of round out the rest of that module with another journal, some additional reading, again, some other cooperative structures. And then at the bottom is another chance for students to integrate some of the thinking with the writing strategy piece that I spoke of earlier. If we go back one page, under the core learning module is some anchor activities. And again, with the same kind of hybrid thinking in mind, we tried to provide students with anchor activities. In this case, this one's like an art connection. And we have some anchor activities connected to some other English language arts initiatives. We are a Touchstones discussion project county. There's an online textbook connection piece there, an argumentative essay opportunity, and a link to Discovery Education, which Terry can speak about a little bit.
One of the things we did was we did integration with our Google accounts, so that every kid also has an account into Discovery. So as the teachers started using Discovery, the students could also use it. Safe place to search. Also led us to a lot of Common Core connections, and Melissa was very excited to see this Common Core connection with the Frankenstein creating intelligence one that linked perfectly right with the intelligence one as we were wrapping this up. Matter of fact, one of the things we loved as we were going around to the different schools is I think every 8th grade teacher that did this activity absolutely raved about it. And they weren't teaching Frankenstein, as you know, that's an upper grade text, but they were working with an excerpt from it. So the tie-in worked perfectly for it. So I would say the connection worked beautiful.
If we go back another page again, below the anchor activities are the final discussion board options, which we looked at prior. And the last folder there is the performance task options that we pulled directly from our curriculum documents and placed in a digital format for research purposes or for presentation purposes. There's just some opportunities there for students to engage digitally if they choose to do so. All of our 6 through 12 ELA shells have a very similar structure. So they have the opening discussion, the core learning module, anchor activities, the final discussion board options, and performance option folder.
The last item, the last tool we really worked on, we told you about discussion boards, journals, was the assignments. So the assignment we're going to look at right now is the overall assignment for the unit for contributions. It's a large one. It would be considering all the novels in the text that they did for this unit. I want to delve more into what we did inside of it than the assignment itself, and that would be the work that went behind it, which would be the rubric that we worked on. We work with the teachers on grading online. So first of all, they have to learn how to maneuver online. This is the editable version, but they learn how to work within this compounds. Some of them were having some issues, so we taught them how to download the papers if they needed it. But most of them are getting the hang of how to use those online grading rubrics and grade from there. And we're hoping with the preparation, with the connection to PowerSchool, that that will become a nice seamless thing that they will grade once and it will go over. We're learning some of the other ins and outs as they've gone through about the multiple attempts and using Safe Assign so that if a kid uploads it once and he can take a look at what is considered plagiarism, that he can upload it again to get rid of some of those things. That Safe Assign piece has been thing for some teachers. They want to know what % is too much. And we keep telling them it's not a number. You have to go back and look at those different things and look at what they are highlighting. So that's been an interesting discussion as we've gone through. Some of the other pieces that have been interesting are the different ways to display grades and just some of the other options that they had. It's created some nice discussions as we've moved through this school year. So assignments have been a nice piece for us. We've had a couple other things that have come up. One of them has been Quickly, which is a building block that we can add in, that you can upload assignments. However, at this point in time, Quickly cannot work with Safe Assign. So we've had a little bit of problems with that. What it does do, though, is it allows us to upload directly from our Google Drive. So there's pluses and minuses to those features, so it depends on whether you're trying to use Safe Assign or not, whether you're going to use it or not. So those have been some pluses that we found as we've integrated our Google Apps for Education and our Blackboard together. So those are all some pluses as we've moved through this whole feature of creating these masters. I will say the whole piece, trying to make it come together so that it fits nicely on a Chromebook, has probably been the hardest thing for some of our teachers to do, because when they look at a folder, and that's the way they're used to building, versus a learning module, it's hard for them to understand that a learning module makes it a nice book on a Chromebook, and a folder means a lot more scrolling on a Chromebook. So some of these features are things that we've had discussions back and forth on what makes it easier for our kids to use. And those are things and still discussions that we have going on. So I'm not sure at this point in time if anybody else wants to add anything else.
No, I asked. There you go. I'm sorry, I was swapping sessions, but again, you can see that it was really getting the tools in the hands of those that can make a difference. And so I can't thank enough the hard work of Melissa and Terry. It's as a leader, you work and do the background work and try to get these tools in the hands of the people that matter. And it's just giving those quality tools and then getting out of their way. And I think that you can see from their hard work that we're really starting making some quality products. We still have some work to do, and still we have to go back and really ensure that all our courses follow the same format. But now that it's taken us this long to really kind of settle in on what we want it to look like, as well as with the shift to the Common Core, we've really had to do some internal overhaul, which then has led to our shift in how our courses look in Blackboard. So we're really excited about where we're at this point in time. And by all means, we're going to open up some questions. I've been trying to add some insight using Melissa's account, as we go through. So if you have any questions, by all means, either enter in the chat or I'll turn it back over to Katie. Oh, Terry has one more comment?
Yeah,
okay.
Always have one more comment. One more thing I'd like to add. One of the things that Melissa and I are trying to do right now is to take anything that the teachers have built during this school year and try to put it into masters. And that's probably the hardest thing, is take So just imagine the book that we were just showing you. If teachers made 2 or 3 other things for that, is how does it all fit together so it goes in the master? Because at the end of the school year, all of their courses go away, and we push again from the master again in August. So that's the mantra of the county, is to always put the best in the master and then push again. So the teachers can back up their courses and then reuse their individual things, but we always want to keep making that master the best shell. And so that's where Melissa and I now are, as in our travels, looking for what's the best, and then keep building up that master course so that we keep getting it better and better.
Katie, we're going to go ahead and turn that back over to you.
Okay, this has been great. As I switch back to the slides, I know we've had a chance to ask some questions already, but to encourage any additional questions folks might have as I come back to the slides here. You can type them in the chat or use your microphone. But Kyle and team, this has been awesome. I love when districts really leverage the power of Blackboard to enhance and create rich content for their teachers, because that's one of the things that we hear as schools are getting started. Not everybody has been doing this for 4 and 5 years, is how to get the average teacher started with content already available to them and give them the flexibility that they need. So I love to hear when districts are sharing content, reusing content like that. Hey, look, I see there might be something in the chat. Okay, go ahead and add questions to the chat if you have them. Kyle, did you have something to add there?
Yeah, I think one of the what we keep talking about as a core group is that too many times I think in education what happens is when the newest technology comes out, then that's the only thing that they do. So like Google Apps is out. Okay, we're just going to do Google Apps. Okay, now we're going to do this instead of saying, all right, that's just another tool in the toolkit. And I think what we're trying to do centrally is really making sure blending all the pieces that we have into, as Melissa said earlier, as Blackboard being our home base, and creating these shells and creating these courses that everything starts in Blackboard, and then you start branching out to the various tools that's at your disposal, knowing you can't do everything in Blackboard, but you can't do everything in Google. You can't do everything in Discovery Ed, because kids need those multiple kinds of experiences to obviously keep them engaged, but then also challenge the way that they're thinking. And the only way to do that is you provide them those varying experiences. And so we're very cognizant in ensuring that kids have multiple ways to have access and different types of technology experiences. But again, we do use Blackboard as our home base.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense and very well said, Kyle. And that really aligns well to our philosophy at Blackboard. I mean, we have had an extensive building blocks program before, the iPhone had an app store. And the idea is being able to, extend that Blackboard functionality and use it as the home base, but not limit the other types of technologies that you're using in a district, and, really open the doors to all the types of content that you might want to use or tools. I know you guys mentioned using Safe Assign, and that's a core part of Blackboard Learn. It's part of your license. But we have districts who use Turnitin. Well, we integrate with Turnitin, because if you prefer Turnitin, that's fine with us. We want it to work seamlessly in your LMS for you. So we do have a commitment to open standards and open APIs and an extensive building block framework to make that possible. So glad to hear great examples of that in practice and how it's helping students and teachers. All right, so please keep questions coming. But if you do have a topic you'd like to see in the future, or you would like to present, you can reach out to me at Katie Gallagher or send me an email. I'd like to thank our presenters today. I hope our presenters and those who have joined us will join us at BB World for a great week in Vegas. This summer, we're working on building out a great program, right now as we speak. And just want to thank Kyle and Melissa and Terry and Mike again for a great session. This was awesome.
You're most welcome. I'll thank you for all the rest of us here because we really only have one mic. So have a great afternoon.
Have a great afternoon, and we'll talk to everyone soon. We'll see you guys all back here on April 11th. Thank you for joining.